Good morning, everyone. It's nice to have you back here. I would like to say hello from our team and kickstart this year's Hipther Festival, which is at the third edition. It's a virtual-only conference, which has been launched in 2020. And we are happy to bring you this new edition this year again. And most of all, we are also excited to kickstart this new series of virtual quarterly meetups called TECH Quarterly Meetups, which will begin next year. If you want to find out the dates for the next year's quarterly meetups, you can head to Hipther.com, browse the menu and find events, or just go to Hipther.com/events to see all the calendar for next year. So without any further delay, I have here today some very interesting characters, if I would name that, experts in their field, coming from the AI, compliance, blockchain, financial management, accounting, etc. And today we're going to start with the first session, which is dedicated for artificial intelligence, and most importantly, how it's applied in our daily lives, because we already have it applied in our daily life, and it's very successful. Some of you don't even know it. You are using this technology, but there are some interesting parts of our lives in which it could also be applied, and it's not applied yet. So today in this session, I have three experts in the AI field with whom we are going to talk in the next 45 minutes about how AI can be applied in our daily lives. So I would start by introducing them. I have Anđela Todorović. Anđela, are you here?
Yes. Hi, Zoltán. Hi, everyone.
Nice
I'm very sorry you won't be able to see me today, but I hope you can hear me well.
No worries. Yes, we can hear you. We also have Jūlija Terjuhana from Sorainen, but I will let you also introduce yourself a bit later. Hi, Jūlija.
Hi, Zoltán. Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
We also have Péter W. Szabó, CEO of Tengr.ai. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the company correctly.
Yeah, thank you so much. You pronounced it quite well. Thanks.
All right. So before we kickstart today's AI session, I would like to ask you all to give a few details about yourself, give a short introduction about your career, and then also about your company that you're representing. So let's start with Anđela first, and then go to Jūlija and then Péter.
Sure, perfect. So a short introduction about me. I currently live in Paris, France, where I study at École Polytechnique. And I'm also a software engineer at Tűndik Corporation. Tűndik is a large transportation corporation which is based in the US, and it has a lot of sectors. The one that I'm working in is a research team that does research on computer vision and image processing applications.
All right, thank you so much. Jūlija.
Yes, I have multiple hats. Currently, I'm a PhD student, and I focus on transparency and explainability of artificial intelligence from the perspective of law. I'm a lawyer myself at a pan-Baltic law firm Sorainen, and I'm a lead of startup sector group there.
Okay, thank you so much. Could you maybe tell us a few words about Sorainen?
Yes, Sorainen works in Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, and also we have an office in Belarus, and we provide wide spectrum of legal services, including consultancy on various topics in technology, communication, media, gaming regulation, etc.
All right, and it's an awesome company with which we work for the past 5 years now in the Baltics. Péter.
At the moment, I'm just at the beginning of a new venture. I started Tengr.ai, which is an artificial intelligence only company. My background is in user experience, and just recently I had a successful exit with Acetek. And Tengr.ai is so new that it's literally like 3 weeks old as registered. And the main goal of the company is to create tailor-made artificial intelligence solutions, mainly machine learning for big brands or startups, but also the showcase project, I would say, is a computer-generated art software, and that also bears the name of Tengr.ai, which we hope to release in early next year, or if all goes well, even earlier.
Right. So thank you guys for the introduction and saying a few words about yourself and your company. So let's dive into this subject today. So AI already has an invisible hand on our daily life. We can agree on that. Not your head if you agree. So AI is everywhere in our life, actually. And from reading our emails that when we prepared this session, but when I was looking up this subject, I was really excited to talk about this, because even when reading our emails, there's an AI that's governing the filters and stuff like that. We are also receiving driving directions from an AI, maybe obtaining music suggestion or movie suggestion that's also done by AI. So there are a couple of lists out there on the internet where you can find the best usage of artificial intelligence in our everyday life. And I've also found something very interesting, which is there are two types, software and methodology and embodied AI, which, like the software AI, maybe you guys can say a few words about this, because for me it's like something new and I'm very excited to learn more about it. It's like software methodologies like voice assistants, image recognitions for unlocking your cell phones, machine learning based financial fraud detection, etc. And embodied is also the drones, self-driving vehicles, assembly line robots, Internet of Things, and so on. So I will go around and ask you guys first from your backgrounds. Like, let's start with Anđela, who is in AI research. And Anđela, could you say what is AI research to our audience?
Of course, AI research is quite a broad topic, and I guess everyone has a different definition. But in general, it's a way of conducting experiments and in general, like setting theoretical background for machine learning in general and deep learning in specific. So what AI researchers do on a daily basis is that they read papers, they also write papers, and basically they try to explore the current situation of the machine learning models, which is basically a model is, let's say, a set of rules that takes you from point A to point B, that draws some decisions from your data. So what we try to do is to experiment with the existing models, to build new ones, and also to improve the existing models. Beyond that, I would say that we also try to conduct research on explainability of our models, what's present in deep learning, which is a field of artificial intelligence that uses neural networks to draw conclusions. Is that most of the models are really black box. You don't know the underlying mathematical principles in it. So what we try to do is kind of to explain what's in between the actual models that we use in our everyday applications.
All right. So how is AI used in research?
So it's a very difficult actually, because
in a nutshell
we need to kind of draw a line between like using AI in research and then like research in AI, because AI can be used in various fields. Having worked myself in fields from medicine to finance to, I don't know, oil and gas industries and so on. I guess whenever you have a large amount of data, and you want to draw some conclusions from it, you can try to think of using AI. And in many fields, especially like in biomedical applications, it's very present that more and more recently, there have been some very smart machine learning models that can be used, like, for example, in diagnosis of diseases, then in prediction. We have seen a lot of applications with COVID recently and so on. And it's only a beginning. Depending on the field, we have like a set of very useful applications of machine learning models in general.
All right, thank you. So now I will jump to Peter, who is the modern Picasso in this session. And I will ask you, Peter, so as I asked Anđela about how is AI used in research and what is AI research, I will ask you, how is AI used in art? You're on mute.
Yeah, thanks. That's a very good question, and also very broad one. Although in this year, especially since this summer, the explosion of AI generated art is pretty much everywhere. We have seen it on trade shows, exhibitions, and so forth. But actually, machine learning models have been used in art, both to analyze existing art and also to create new art, just with the diffusion models such as the Midjourney or the Stable Diffusion, which emerged this year. It became more popular and the results are arguably better. But also this leads to a wider acceptance or at least recognition. But also there is an interesting field between analyzing and creating new art is sort of the restoration or digitalization of art that can also be aided with deep neural network. And when you think about AI generated art, most people would think that this is very, very new, while the current execution is new, but there is a notable example. Even in 1967, there was a German scientist called Frieder Neke. I hope I pronounce it right. And he had 12 images, all titled Matrix Multiplication, as part of a portfolio, which could be considered machine learning generated. And if that would have been in this year, it surely would be. And of course, it was very rudimentary, but it was an automatic way of generating art. So the roots of this are very deep.
All right. So we heard also what does AI mean for research, like compiling big data. I also like to ask you, what does AI mean for art?
I think it depends on who do you ask.
That's
if you ask the artists, and seemingly there is a media buzz around that, at least some artists see it as a threat. I mean, if you think about things like there was an AI generated artwork titled The Portrait of Edmund Bellamy, which sold for over $400,000 at an art auction. Or in this year, there was an AI generated art piece titled Théâtre d'Opéra Spatial, which won the first prize on Colorado State Fair, and so forth. So the traditional artists kind of fear that they will be either pushed out of the art sphere, or it could lead to a significant change to the art field, similar to the invention of photography. Because when the photography was invented, the traditional artists had to find a way either to adapt and become photographers, or to turn from an accurate representation of reality to new ways of expression, and this is what led to numerous new forms of art which were not even considered before that, because at some point they realized that a human artist will never be as accurate in representing reality as photography was. So I think a similar sort of revolution will happen with AI generated art in the very near future. At the moment, of course, there is the resistance, but if you think about it, a machine learning model can learn from billions of images, pretty much all existing pieces of artwork ever created and survive to this day, and even today, the large image data sets such as the Lion consist of nearly 6 billion images. So starting from there, we can see that it's not a fair competition, because a human artist could never learn from such a high variety of images. And then an AI model can, after the training period, can generate even millions of artworks in mere seconds if you have enough hardware. But a human artist needs weeks, if not months, to generate an artwork. So the competition in that regard is by far not fair or not even comparable. So that's why the art community, the humans, needs to find their way. And actually, I have high hopes that a sort of synergy will happen between the AI generated and traditional art forms. And even today, we can see traditional artists embracing AI and using AI to enhance their art or guiding the AI, and we are just scraping the surface of possibilities. So in 5 years, we will certainly know where this led.
All right, so basically we're living a radio killed the video star moment. Sorry, a video killed the radio star moment.
Yes.
Okay, so Jūlija, now let's talk about compliance, because AI is also applied in compliance in the legal profession. So I'm going to ask you how law votes, or how AI is reshaping the legal profession.
Yeah, here we can talk about AI and law from two perspectives, as you mentioned, from perspective of compliance. Currently, especially this year, countries are starting to implement regulatory acts and approaching towards regulation of AI. This will be no longer Wild West, and it will not be possible to do whatever the creators like with the AI. China has implemented the first rules of how AI should function and how it shall respect certain rules there in China. Now, also the European Union is developing its so-called AI Act, which will be of power of regulation directly applicable to all member states, and it will cover the whole process, starting from development of AI technology to its application. And the main aim of it is to actually respect human rights, our European values, our privacy, to ensure transparency, to avoid biases and discriminatory aspects, which artificial intelligence also can bring. And other aspect of regulation and application of AI to legal field is our daily work. Of course, we also use artificial intelligence. It helps us a lot with analyzing documents, with prediction, restructurizing documents. When we have drafted already something, and many of us are not native speakers, but still we work with English-speaking clients, and artificial intelligence oftentimes helps us to rephrase the text and adjust it to the more formal style. Also, different search engines, for example, for trademarks, when we use already for example, a logo of a company who wants to register trademarks in the European Union, we can insert this logo to be registered and find whether there are already existing logos with the same visual appearance. And this wasn't possible before the artificial intelligence was introduced in our daily lives in such a level, because previously then you need to scroll hundreds and hundreds of lines for long hours, spend very much money for your client. But now this is just an issue of several minutes, then you see the results, done, go further and solve the issue more efficiently, definitely.
Yeah, in this case, somehow Peter's project can be tied to this because it can automatically generate a logo, which it's unique. So are there any potential legal issues in use of AI currently without the AI Act in the EU?
Yes, something happened with connection for a second.
It's okay.
Now it
the
works
AI
again.
connected now. So
yeah. Yeah, I heard your question. Yes, already now in countries where AI is used, for example, in justice, when determining whether criminals who are already in prison, for example, in multiple states in the United States of America, AI is already used for predictions whether this person who is already in prison will or will not convict more crimes in future. And based on decision made of AI, it is decided whether to allow these people to leave the prison earlier before their term ends. And it was found out that this AI system has already this discriminatory effect, because it was trained initially on many hundreds of decisions made and statistics about people of mainly people who are of dark race. Eventually this AI algorithm is trained so that it decides on people who are of different skin colors in an unfavorable manner, that the algorithm thinks that
so basically it's a racist AI. Okay.
Yes, and this is unintentional bias, and this decision to train this algorithm on certain data maybe was made unintentionally, but the result is on lives of real people and actual lives of people. And therefore it is very important to think through the whole process of development, so that starting from the very beginning, from the creating of this problem solving algorithm and training it on correct amount and correct quality of data in order to reach this desirable and fair result, not biased.
It's so crazy. All right, so I'm jumping back now to the AI researcher. So Anđela, what does an AI researcher do, and is an AI researcher a good career choice?
So first of all, before I move to the question, I would like to continue with the discussion that Jūlija has mentioned. The problems of bias in data and also obtaining privacy in machine learning models is one of the tasks that AI researchers can do. There's a separate field that's dedicated to ethics in AI, and it's super important to just put more emphasis to it in the future, because yes, from what we could see in the past, a lot of models have like unintentional bias towards them. Overall, AI researchers usually tend to kind of look underneath the surface and try to develop new models. So it's a very good career because it's a fine line between science and programming. And from my perspective, I would recommend it as a very interesting and very creative career. It may not sound like a super interesting and creative job overall, like any software position, but on the daily amount, you can see so many new ideas, you can see so many papers that are being published that sound interesting. So yeah, from my perspective, if you're like curious and scientifically passionate, yes, it's a way to go.
All right. How did you get into AI research?
So for me, I was always somewhere in between industry and academia. And I've worked in both and kind of saw that an overlapping topic, which is like doing science, but in industry is the right career path for me. So.
All right. So I'm going to ask Péter, the Picasso, the modern Picasso, how I will call him today, the destroyer of the artists. So how does AI improve creativity? Because it certainly has an aspect that we must look at.
Yes, it's definitely happening, and now I have the opportunity, and I would also say pleasure, of working with quite a few artists, including international ones, and seemingly those who, so to say, embrace machine learning generated art, they find it that it's not only very accurate, but it also seemingly as if it had new ideas, seemingly it is creative to a degree, and not just talking about artificial things, but it can also find new meanings towards, it can combine concept, or it can even find visual expression to concept which would be very hard to grasp or represent visually, such as war or the birth of time, or things which have some sort of philosophical or political even undertones. Those things can be represented by AI, not because suddenly AI became self-aware and now it can do philosophy or whatever. I certainly hope that in the very near future that will also be happening, but because it learned from so many different concepts, and it also learned to create a synthesis of those. It's becoming better and better, and if you are a traditional artist, you can base your artwork on that. There are artists who overpaint AI generated art because in certain parts it's not matching their creative ideas, but they start from it and then they improve the AI generated art, and it also helps with the artist's block, as they call it, when you know that you need to paint something, but you are stuck, you don't really have a new idea, you don't really want to, but then you generate something, and then based on that, or maybe you generate 100 things based on those, that specific creative spark is ignited, which is very hard to define for humans, but it's certainly happening. For instance, an artist from Singapore published an art portfolio where she had a lot of pictures, and she said that it would have been impossible to create such a wide portfolio in pretty much weeks instead of many years. So it's definitely helping them if they have the right mindset of embracing it, of course.
All right. So my next question is actually a challenge for Anđela and Jūlija, because I know your answer for this one. So Anđela, Jūlija, do you think that AI can ever be truly creative? You can take turns. Anđela, maybe you can start.
I think so, because there's been a large discussion with the leading AI CEOs, great minds, and everyone. And there was a question like, is general artificial intelligence, which is, let's say, an artificial intelligence that has a human level intelligence, and also it has the creativity, it has the emotions, and so on. So basically, like, replicates human in all sort of way. They asked them if it is possible. They all answered yes. So from my perspective, maybe we're quite far from it currently. It's still in a developing phase, but I do have hopes that in the future, yes, AI can reach the level of human creativity, if not the full potential. Yes.
All right, thank you. Jūlija, biased creativity.
I think not so much about biases here, but listening to what Peter is telling us about various ways how AI created images can be applied and used for the actual creativity. I think it is, yeah, I know what Anđela, sorry. Yes, what Anđela is talking about, that we are currently far from this advanced artificial intelligence, which will be able to take its own decisions. But now I think if it is a mixture of the image representation created by AI, is a mixture of previous experiences from different various artists, and it's like a collage. When there are multiple pieces, something from everywhere, then yeah, from legal perspective, if we want to be like lawyers, being lawyers, then I think it can be an original work. And there were discussions whether this object of intellectual property, a masterpiece, an artwork, can be protected by copyright, and who is the owner in this situation when this painting or a poster is created by artificial intelligence system, whether it has an author at all. If I remember correctly, the outcome was that the company, for example, or the person, if it is like private ownership, then this person or this company will be the author. We don't consider artificial intelligence its own person or something like that. We are not in the science fiction movie yet.
Okay, so Peter, now I'm going to get your answer on this, and especially since we heard a lot of good things now from Jūlija. So basically, somebody, if he creates an art on Tengr.ai, it's still your product, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, Tengr.ai is my product, but the output of it, I believe, it belongs to the artist, and this is how the terms and conditions are written and will be implemented when it goes publicly available. Because I would say it's a similar case to, let's say, Adobe Photoshop. When you use Adobe Photoshop to create digital art, and many artists do that, it doesn't suddenly become something that's copyrighted to Adobe Incorporated. It would be stupid and no one would use Photoshop after that. So I think it's the same. So Tengr.ai or Midjourney or Stable Diffusion or whatever art tool should be considered first and foremost as a tool, and the generated output should belong to you, and not just legally, but it also has your idea behind it. It's not like, at the moment at least, I'm also working on that possibility to just create AI art without human input. But until we reach that point, you need to have some sort of input in the process. And also after the model generates the pictures, you need to curate them, because yes, the model will generate even thousands of images if you let it to work for that long, but you don't want to use all of them. You just want to use one. And from this idea and selection process, you create your intellectual property. And from this respect, I believe that we are in a good situation on positioning this on the market as a tool you can use instead of either some scientific thing, or instead of a copyright nightmare, which would happen if Tengr.ai would own the copyright, which is obviously not good for any party, including Tengr.ai.
All right, so I need a quick answer from you, and it's just have to be yes or no. So is AI going to replace artists?
Unfortunately, I don't have a quick answer because it's a bit more complicated than that. I would say that it would replace a large part of current applied artists, such as concept artists, those people who create the textures in 3D modeling, even the 3D modelers. It would replace quite a lot of artists who work in some sort of industry, either in marketing or game development or whatever. But it would not replace the art directors, the artists who exhibit in galleries. Those people would reinvent themselves, and they would still have their own niche. Just the concept artists, for instance, they would surely disappear in 5 to 10 years, I would say.
All right, so that's something very interesting to hear. So Anđela, could you tell us what is the easiest example of AI use in your experience?
So I guess what we see on a daily basis are recommender systems. For example, I don't know, if you go to any online shop, if you go to Netflix, if you go to YouTube, the recommender systems are there, and based on your previous experience, based on your, let's say, browsing history, watching history, and so on, they try to determine what type of movies or songs or whatever else products would you like. And I think it's a very good application, because that's the best example how maybe something that you aren't even aware of, which is your taste, can be determined just based on the lots and lots of data and patterns that are present in it.
All right, so there's a meme out there that there's a grocery store and there's bananas and groceries, and then the sign says that 5 out of 10 users brought they also bought the cucumber with the banana, so it's a suggestion. So maybe that's in the near future in the grocery stores. So okay, so Jūlija, I would also like to ask you about the use of AI technology in the legal profession. And when I was researching for this session, I found that there are maybe like 3 main uses of AI in the legal profession. Could you tell us more about which are these?
About 3 main uses. If you could tell me, what are they?
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I thought that maybe you have examples. Definitely those who use artificial intelligence for analysis. For example, in common law countries as the United States and the UK, they have such a way of deciding on cases that they need to be based on the previous decisions. and therefore lawyers need to know this case law thoroughly. And it means that you need to go through the previous cases, many previous cases, to find the specific citation which helps you. This is not the case for this continental Europe, no. But there, artificial intelligence is used to screen all those decisions and to find this piece of text which is necessary. Another way is implementation of artificial intelligence in justice, in e-government, and helping regular people to find the necessary information regarding the system of justice, also by means of chatbots. They are, at least in Latvia, where I come from, they are very popular, and many state official institutions have them. In the bottom of the web page, you can ask simple questions, and the bot is training itself and is trying to become better in answering those questions. And many countries are also trying to digitalize the decision-making process in courts and to make court decision process, at least for the simplest of cases, when there are very basic decisions to be made, if there is no counterclaims, no nothing to analyze from human perspective. If there are like just facts, then the decision is made, yes or no. Then such cases can be automatized and also solved by artificial intelligence. But there are also many concerns raised in this regard, and some countries have already adopted AI-based decision-making process. I think France is one of them, and also our neighbors in Estonia are thinking about it, but still it is quite a slow process. Legal field is quite conservative in general, and very full of traditions, and people who are very against something automated, because human intervention is always needed in decision making.
All right. So I remember that this year when we were in Vilnius, when we met, you had a presentation about what is explainability. Could you maybe give some short sentences to the audience who weren't there to listen in on this presentation?
In simple words, explainability is that you need to know based on what criteria the decision about you is made, and what will be the outcome based on what. But the thing is that typically in this situation, we think only about this final decision made on the user, but actually all people, all professions, starting from creation of artificial intelligence system to buying it and implementing it, whether by government or by a private actor, everyone, including those companies, courts, offices, need to know what the artificial intelligence system does. And also those IT professionals who will be helping implementation of this system also need to know what the system does based on what. And also those who will serve this and adjust and develop this system in the future, within the upcoming years, also need to know what is the aim and what are criteria behind that, because we cannot just buy a product from a company and let it work. Everyone needs to know what will be those criteria.
That's an ideal world, because even they need to know, but do they care? Because like similar with the cookies, like we need to implement it on the website. What type of cookies does the website? Everybody clicks just accept all, and that's it. So
yeah, and we also often see that also the companies don't know what these cookies do.
Exactly. So since I still have you, could you tell us what is the easiest example of AI use in your experience? Because we heard it from Anđela already.
I think everyone has a mobile phone now, and when we use our camera, we see how it adjusts and sees whether the background is a blue sky or night.
Mine doesn't. Mine is
really?
old. Yeah.
You need to buy a new one then,
All
and
right.
you will see how it works. Yes, this is one of examples, and also millions and millions of people around the globe use Google services, and Google now also provides a cloud for us to store our pictures, and this becomes a historical archive for us. And now it is very simple that you can, in this little search box, you type like something, cakes or city or specific PIN code. I even can find my PIN code, a photo of which I took some 3 years ago just by my phone. And when I insert this PIN code name, then it finds this one picture where this code is stored. And this is very convenient and very comfortable for me as a regular user, which just needs this one picture with my necessary information.
All right, so we heard everything. Now I ask Peter about this example of, maybe could you tell us an easy example of AI use in your experience?
I think one of the oldest examples is advertising, as in customized, tailor-made per-user advertising, which we can see it in all social media, in Facebook, on Instagram, whatever, but also on the Google search ads. Those also use a rudimentary, but in some cases it's not even that. Now it's becoming more and more complex artificial intelligence to determine which ads would incite the most positive reaction from us. And I'm pretty sure you all have examples when you just maybe spoke about some product, or maybe not even that, but you thought about a product, and seemingly the ads on Facebook somehow guessed your thoughts and showed you the exact product you were speaking or thinking about. And that's possible with the help of a machine learning field called the collaborative filtering, which, based on users with similar and dissimilar interests to you, will determine the exact ad you would have the highest percentage of clicking on and then buying the product.
All right, and that's totally going to change with the VR world now, with everything where they track your eye movement and stuff like that when displaying advertising. So yeah, what would you like to have guided by AI in the near future, like let's say 2025? Peter, you go first.
I think, because I'm not a big fan of driving, and if you have been driving a car on roads in Romania, you probably guess why. But I think that the biggest thing I really hope we will have is self-driving cars, and not just a few, but en masse. So everyone would be safer on the roads, and then you could just do work or read or whatever while your car drives you to the destination. And not just cars, but I would certainly feel safer if all transportation, including airplanes, which already use quite a lot of artificial intelligence, but also ships and trucks and whatever you can think of, would be self-driven. So I think that's the topmost thing I really, really wish. But ultimately, I believe that all walks of life will be touched by AI, and it will be guided by it, and even things which we don't even think of. I mean, I can certainly see companies being led by AI, political parties led by AI, pretty much anything.
Oh, wow. I said 2025, not 2035. All right, thank you, Peter. Anđela, I'm asking you the same question. What would you like to have guided by AI in the near future?
I have to agree with Peter. It's also, but yeah, to kind of expand it, you mentioned the embodied AI. and I'm really passionate about autonomous agents in general and the applications of AI in robotics. So also like having robots that are aided by AI in our daily lives. For example, I don't know, in shops, in so many different applications. I've seen some applications with like robots helping packing stuff and so on. I think that's a very useful field, and I think wherever they can help instead of like replace humans, I think that's a very good application to see, and also a very possible one in the near future. It's already happening.
All right. I hope Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk is tuning in for this session. So, Jūlija, same question. What would you like to have been guided by AI in the near future? Judges, prosecutors, etc. Probably.
No, I will not be that boring. I will continue with the robotics, and I have heard of a very useful idea, which German scientists are working on. I think this field really needs attention. There is a field called geriatrics. Geriatrics are a field where robots are intended to help elderly people who need access to medical services, to social services, and they can't move themselves, for example, or just it is too difficult for them to go on public transportation or buy their own car, and they can remotely access all these types of various services. And robot assistant serves not only like a calling channel, but also helps to put heavier items or lock the door and bring a glass of water, very symbolically. And I think this field really needs attention because elderly people are very often out of our scope of thinking about the new technology, but they really can be helped by such types of technology in the future, I think, definitely.
Thank you so much. So, all right, guys. So, Jūlija, Péter, Anđela, thank you so much for your inputs today. I've learned a lot. I hope our viewers did too. So thank you, guys. And now I've moved forward to my next session, which is blockchain in our daily lives, which is also very interesting. So I have here, I should have Dean Rakic, who is probably going to join us a bit later, Sima Baktas, who is not going to join us, unfortunately, but I have Viktoria Soltesz, founder at PSP Angels. So hi, Viktoria. I'm going to ask you all the questions that I wanted to ask Sima and Dean, so get ready for this. So no, I'm just kidding. Right.
No worries. I think we can make a very nice fireside chat of this session until everybody joins. So thank you so much for having me here. And thank you very much for the opportunity so I can explain my thoughts about the blockchain technology and everything around it. I'm looking forward to this session. I think we're going to have a good one.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one because we have updates. Let's hopefully that Dean will join us because he's the main guy in blockchain. So we have blockchain updates throughout the year. There's crypto winter, which is still going on. There's some more interesting parts of our life blockchain was applied to this year. So as I know that as a human nature, it is embedded that we resist change. So especially when it disturbs the long established ways of doing things. There will be no doubt many interested individuals are going to tap the brakes of the blockchain development because they don't want it, because they don't want change. But its adoption on a grand scale is inevitable, and we can see it in the past 4 years. And with any new technology comes the potential of abuse, of course. And rather than trying to fight blockchain innovation, we should safeguard against their misuse for nefarious purposes that do not serve humanity. So blockchain has an enormous potential. We learned that, and it can improve our lives in the near and distant future. We should embrace it by this promising technology and mindfully steer it to harness for a greater good. And with this intro being said, I would like to ask you to introduce yourself, your career, and say a few words about your company, of course.
Of course. So my name is Viktoria, and I actually started up as an accountant in Cyprus as a tax advisor. And I had a lot of different type of clients. We set up the different tax structures for them. 20 years ago, there was no word as compliance. No one really knew how banks think and what is the requirement of the European Union as they came later. So as the time passed by, many of my clients said that, yes, okay, Viktoria, I understand that optimizing the tax in a legal way, it does benefit my group, but how can I move the funds around, right? So the main problem was moving funds between different jurisdictions, opening different bank accounts for high-risk verticals, such as investment brokerages, gambling, gaming companies, adult entertainment. And as soon as the blockchain technology started to grow, including the cryptocurrencies with it, then we saw that the bank is indeed restricting all of these activities from the banking perspective. So it was very hard to find for those guys merchant accounts, Visa, MasterCard acceptance on the website, opening different bank accounts, customer deposit accounts where individuals can deposit fiat funds and then it gets exchanged to crypto. So that's when I started to focus more on the payment side of the financial flow of the different companies. And this is how we started PSP Angels. So PSP is standing for Payment Service Provider, and we are angels because we are an independent consultancy firm who is making sense out of all this confusion which is on the market. The prices are all over the place because it's very subjective, as it's based on the risk. Also, the acceptance has to be sometimes going through someone who knows someone who knows someone. So you need someone who has the network and the connections to trust in your startup company or give you any kind of credit, even though when you're on the seed phase and you're still just collecting the funds from investors. And obviously many times companies don't really understand what are the real risks on these kind of financial institutions, right? Because when you're speaking to sales, everybody says to you, we are the safest, we are the cheapest, of course, open the account with us, don't you worry about the thing. But is it really safe to keep all your investors' funds in an offshore account? Is it really safe to move money even, let's say, from Africa to Europe? How is the tax office? How is the bank compliance will handle all these transactions? So those are the different questions that we try to find answers to, from actually investigating what is the payment flow within your company, where the money comes from, how much, how often, what currency, to actually a point when we evaluate that are you really using the safest and obviously the cheapest payment providers which fit your requirements. And of course, on top of that, because life is not that easy. On top of that, everything is changing all the time. So you do need to have continuous maintenance and management and relationship with your banker. You need to explain all your new products and services to the bank, asking some kind of approval if you can launch those kind of products, mainly when we are talking about fintech and cryptocurrency related activities. So the bank's compliance can give you the green light, and they will not just close the account on you at one day and you try to log into the account, pay your salaries, and then you see that the funds are frozen. So that's the main aspect that we are working with. And since I'm coming really from the financial and the compliance and the banking kind of way of this technology, and then mainly for the cryptocurrency exchanges, I see things really in a black and white way when it comes to regulation, when it comes to how we can actually adopt these blockchain technologies when it comes to obviously digital assets. So I would say that I represent more of the hard reality, if I can say that, right? So it's not just, yes, I understand everything is here to change and down with the banks, and we are grabbing back the power. But on the same way, you know, there are still some regulations that we need to adhere to. We should not give even an opportunity to handle payments for transactions where there should not be any payments in the first place. Talking about the scammers, talking about illegal services or products and whatnot. And since the real fiat world is made to filter out all those transactions through obviously the compliance work, and that's why the bank is asking all these questions from you. How can we implement the same kind of rules and regulations to the blockchain without damaging the base idea of blockchain is free for all and the community decides everything? So this is a very interesting balance that everybody is looking for the answer to, that how to keep that balance. But yes, I'm here to, you know, bring you some kind of other kind of perspective on the subject.
And how has this been working out for you?
I would say, unfortunately, very well. Unfortunately, because in an ideal world, you wouldn't need people like me, right? You wouldn't need payment consultants like PSP Angels, but it works out very well because unfortunately everybody has issues with that. So now I see any type of blockchain project, any type of token or coin, or even just, you know, just be a startup. That's enough. You don't even need to start nowadays, you know, anything with blockchain or crypto. Just be a startup. It is a hard, very lengthy procedure to open any kind of accounts and even just evaluate the real risk that you're facing when you're handling company funds globally.
It's very crazy because every year we need to go to the bank to take all the data to do this renewal thing for the account, for the business account. And it's very crazy because we have lots of websites. And among them, there's a website called the blockchainexaminer.com. So when I have to declare that we have this website and blah, 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 they instantly raise a red flag. Oh, blockchain. So you must be dealing with crypto. No, we're not dealing with crypto. It's a news website. So you need to explain that to them. So it's like crazy when they hear blockchain, the banks, like they go crazy. Like they need a lot of information. Wow, like for terrorists. Now, I remember back in the days, there was like this crazy thing when you used to do international transfers, bank wires, and we used to receive money from companies that are based in Curacao or Costa Rica. We needed to give a proof that we are receiving that payment based on a contract and stuff like that. So it was really a hassle. Now things changed a bit, maybe thanks to fintechs, because definitely that changed the whole scenario. So when I was creating these questions for the session, I found something that I did not know what it is. So I'm going to ask you, being the financial advisor. So what are the fiat on-ramps and off-ramps? Because I found this term, I did not investigate it. So just want to ask you quickly, maybe give a short overview of it.
Yeah, the on-ramp is when you're spending fiat in order to get crypto, and the off-ramp is when you're selling your crypto in order to get fiat. So it's basically an exchange term. But yeah, it's interesting because you know, this industry starts to develop their own special expressions, special you know, explanations for different things, which, to be honest with you, it makes an extra level of difficulty when we are trying to talk to the real world, to the, you know, the compliance officer who might be, I don't know, 55-year-old mother of 3, and, you know, just going to the bank to earn payslip to payslip. So yes, other than these explanations, there are, what I can see, it's the two worlds are getting further and further apart from each other instead of getting closer and closer. And I think the main challenge is how to translate the blockchain and the crypto and the technical language to the everyday people, which helps obviously the mass adoption, but also the different ideas about the blockchain and the cryptocurrency. Actually, there was one very funny story. Many times I'm being asked by my clients that if I can accept crypto, that's great, right? Because then, I don't have to put it on the VAT return. I don't have to declare in the tax office, and it's great, right? It's free money. And
exactly.
I hate to, rain on everyone's parade that no, unfortunately, just because the tax office of your country might not have the technical capability to check if your tax return is indeed valid for that year, because they don't have the the checking of the blockchain technology behind them. Whatever you do on the blockchain, it is tattooed on the blockchain. It's not like holding different invoices for a couple of years and there is an expiry date of 5 years or 7 years, and you can claim that the rat chew it in the basement and that's why you cannot present it to the tax office. This is something which sticks with you forever. Yep. So I always encourage everyone that just because it's a digital asset, it has to be treated in the same way as a traditional fiat asset, meaning do not cheat tax, do not cheat any kind of, do not hide it from the tax office, because sooner or later it will be found out. Maybe they don't have the technology today, but in 5 years, 10 years, definitely they will have. And since the blockchain, the whole purpose of the blockchain is being there forever, unfortunately, you're risking some serious penalties in the future.
Yeah, I know with the hassle with accepting crypto. So this is like breaking news. I just found an article in the weekend which says that the bankrupt Lebanon, locals are mining Bitcoin and buying groceries with Tether. So how does that work out in illegal aspects?
Yes, there are a lot of countries when unfortunately the banking system collapsed. I'm looking at you, Sri Lanka, I'm looking at you, Venezuela, for example. So even in Venezuela, you would like to go to the shop and buy some bread, you cannot, because the inflation is such an exaggerated format that you have to bring the money there with a, shovel it on the shopkeeper. So in these countries, we see that people are being creative. I usually always say that money is like water. It will find a way, right? So in these countries, people got creative, and obviously, the life cannot just stop. So they started rely heavily on different barters, mainly in the villages. I give you a chicken, you give me a bread, or any other alternative form of value that they both agree, gold. Or, for example, in Africa, many people use the mobile payments, right? So if you are living in a village, you go to the village center, you top up your mobile phone with minutes. Those minutes have a value. So if I go back to my village and you tell me that, hey, Victoria, brought you a chicken, not a problem, I can give you 20 minutes for that. And why is it good? Because I have some sort of like a banking facility which holds the funds, which can be translated in a value. So the minute has a value. It's free to maintain, not like the bank account. And I can send you the money, the minutes, freely as well. Or for example, in Latin America, when the financial system is not really collapsing, but it's about on the verge of collapsing, people don't trust the system anymore. So what they do, they go to the land-based casinos and they exchange their local currency to the chips, the casino chips, because it's always in a dollar. So this is how they fight the inflation, that they can keep all their family savings in a chips, which is like $100 or a $500. So every time they go back to the casino, exchange it back, it will be exchanged on the current day exchange rate. So in this way, people are getting creative. And yes, the cryptocurrency is just one way of handling that. But that's the whole idea, really, to bring banking opportunities and value facilities to countries when people cannot be banked simply because they don't have a utility bill, because they're living in a cardboard box, right? Or they are excluded somehow from these banking potential. And if you're looking at the emerging markets, people are gaining wealth and they are joining the whole global economical system. So there are more and more creative ideas how to involve these people, because it's actually the number of people in these emerging markets, Latin America, Africa, Southeast Asia, is actually in total more than Europe and America itself. So these people don't need the latest technology. They don't need product development. What they need is an absolute basic bare minimum needs to be met, which is the bare minimum banking, for example, the mobile payments with the minute, or the absolute bare minimum investment techniques, which is, the chips in the casino, or in any other way, in a form of a way that they can hold a mobile phone and they can run their finances and economical settings and the whole setup from there and join the economic system.
Wow, it's very crazy. It's very crazy when you think about it, that the adoption of cryptocurrency is used for to tackling inflation. It's very interesting. So let's talk about crypto-friendly banks, because there are not that many, but they are starting to get the idea. And could you give our audience some hints and maybe some tips on how to get accepted by safer or cheaper banks? And maybe some financial institutions?
Definitely. First, I would like to explain how banks work and how banks think, so you get a bit of more understanding of why you are getting rejected or accepted. So banks in a whole, they deal with a so-called portfolio. They have all those clients there. They have the supermarket, the shoe shop, which is low risk, right? There is not that much of risk on these activities, which are usually 90% of the world's economy. These low risk people, brick and mortar stores. The good thing with them is that there is no risk. So hardly any chance that something goes wrong and the financial institution or the bank gets a penalty for handling transactions for illegal activities or bad record keeping. But that means that everybody wants these clients, right? So there is a huge competition on the market to get those clients. So even if you get them, there's not that much of a profit in them. Right? But if you have a strong, solid base of a low-risk clients, then you can actually reach out to the higher risk clients where the money is. But then it's completely subjective, and it's based on your risk assessment as a financial institution to say that, yes, I am willing to take new vertical. That could be also very subjective. If you have a compliance officer who has some kind of gambling experience, maybe you want to take on the casinos because they have large volume. If you have a compliance officer who is very experienced in investment, maybe you want to onboard the brokerages, investment firms, and other licensed institutions, right? Because all you need to do is check the KYC and AML policy if everything is in place. That's the same thing with the blockchain and the cryptocurrency companies as well. If the compliance officer says that, yes, I understand this technology, I would say that I put my name on it, risking that I personally, as an anti-money laundering officer, going to jail in case something goes wrong. I am willing to say that, okay, I'm onboarding these kind of blockchain startup or cryptocurrency related companies. But as you can see, that not that many people is willing to go to jail for an extra money on the side. So it's always about balancing out the portfolio. The more low-risk clients you have, the higher risk you can go later and obviously charge more for that. So that's why everything is changing all the time. Let's say that you as a bank is losing a huge chain of fast food restaurant, then you have to cut back obviously on the higher risk verticals as well in your portfolio, because then it becomes too high risk to manage, and vice versa. In case that you've got a big low risk volume, then you can be a bit more you can discover a bit more on the high risk vertical. So having said that, you as a company, you want to look as little risk to the financial institution as humanly possible. Many times I see ideas which are blockchain technology using crypto, not because of force, but by choice, right? It's hip nowadays to have a CBD company and create whatever wheat coin around it.
Yeah.
It's not always a good thing, because if you are already a red flag, which is, medical marijuana or CBD, why would you add an extra layer of difficulty to the subject, right?
Yeah.
And accept crypto on top of
Exactly.
that and confuse the hell out of your poor compliance officer in the bank. So always try to see that what is the lowest risk that you can appear in the eyes of the compliance officer, in the eyes of the bank. Make sure that every single payment flow is explained to the dot. Where the money comes from, but that's where the money should come from, how much, how often, why it comes from, how are you handling the funds within the company, if you need any kind of license because you're handling third-party funds, so you need, I don't know, e-money institution license or payment institution license, then you've got the right AML and KYC policies in place. And in any way, try to show some kind of processing or banking history, because no one wants to be the guinea pig. I don't want to be the one that you are testing your flows, right? And if something goes wrong, I will be the one who is getting the penalty, while you, dear startup, juggling around, I don't know, 10, 20,000, which obviously is not that much of a fee for me because I'm earning money on your volume. So I would rather not take it. So having said that, try to break it down to the absolutely bare minimum. Try to get rid of every offshore company or every extra layer of company, of difficulty, of that this company owns that company, owns that company, owns that company, and this, because it will just make your life much, much harder. And overall, as I mentioned, the offshore companies, the whole idea is that you need to really justify why do you have offshore companies. Cheating tax and is not a good answer, right? So you have to justify, why are you in Seychelles? Why are you in Belize? Just because the taxation there is nil, or because there is no regulatory framework for the activities that you are doing, is not a good answer. It shouldn't be like that. If you are sitting in Germany, you make decisions in Germany, you should pay German taxes and German VAT and adhere to the German rules and regulations. This is the whole idea. If you're taking your company elsewhere, offshore, yes, you might be very creative and spare some money on the tax, but good luck for you to manage the finances and not to lose any money in the way, just because very special and exotic banks will take you, who might not have that strong of a security system around your fund. So you might take any kind of unnecessary risk. And the other thing, it was actually a very funny story. I had a friend, a long time friend in Cyprus. He's in shipping, so no high risk activities whatsoever. And the guy told me that, hey, Victoria, I know that you're in blockchain and Bitcoin and all of that. Look what I did. I paid 500 euros to Kraken. The 500 became 520, and I withdrew it. And now I have a problem with the bank. I was like, why? What happened? Well, they considered me as a high risk overall because I've got relations to, exchanges. They increased my loan interest rate. They asked me a million questions. So for the 20 euro extra profit that I spinned around on Kraken, if I knew that, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, exactly. See? And since he has a lot of companies in Cyprus as well in the shipping, then since he as a person is on a higher risk category, it also affects his companies, right? So overall, with this little movement of investing 500 euros just to get 20 euro profit out of it, caused him a years long headache and compliance checks and being placed on the higher risk category, which obviously increased his fees as well. So that is the reason that if you're managing a larger operation, or even just you're in a higher risk operation, you will need someone who advises you on that. And it's very important to have someone in your team who understands how banks think, because it doesn't cost a lot to have someone who is just occasionally looking at things, or you just bounce some ideas when it comes to crypto payments, but it can cost a lot when you find yourself in a situation like this.
All right. So yeah, I still have 2 questions for you. So the emerging new payments ecosystem, what are the dominant trends? Maybe if you can tell us about this, the new payments ecosystem, and why are commercial cards adoptions rising?
Visa and MasterCard is really owning the market.
Yeah.
It goes back to the time when internet started and people were a bit, suspicious using the card online, like my mother. I don't want to pay for my groceries in my card, because what if someone steals the card details and the family's money is gone? So Visa and MasterCard built in some kind of security features which safeguards the user. That means that if you receive the blue shoe instead of the red shoe, you've got an opportunity to do a chargeback. The bank is investigating the case, and if they reward you that, yes, you were right, indeed, this is not the right product, you get the money back. So this is how it started. And since then, Visa and MasterCard took on some kind of police hat of the different activities. So even though the legality might say that, yes, it's allowed to pay for certain services or products, if there is a reputational damage or if there is any kind of opportunity for wrongdoing, Visa and MasterCard, because of their reputation, rather restricts those kind of transactions. So many times when we are talking about higher risk verticals, whoever is taking the risk with these kind of card providers, you have to pay for it. So it's going to be very, very expensive. So that gave the opportunity, next to other reasons, obviously, that we don't have the time to mention today, to emerge in different alternative payment methods, which could be the top-up cards, the vouchers, the crypto payments, the mobile payments, any other way which is still facilitating movement of the funds from your customer's pocket to yours, but it goes through different means. Obviously, they have different levels of security. For example, open banking, once you send the money, you will never see it back, right? So it has been
exactly.
done. But this gave the opportunity for creativity in the payment sector, and obviously different areas by culture prefer different ways. Like, for example, we mentioned Africa and Latin America people don't use cards, mainly because they might not even have access to those kind of banking facilities which issue the card, right? So I've got a credit card and I just send it to address, but what address, right? So the most important thing is that if you are running a global operation and your target market is the whole world, then you really need to understand how your clients like to pay in different jurisdictions. So don't try to force your clients to pay with Visa and MasterCard in Ghana, because your conversion rate is not going to be very successful, right? The other thing is that you always need to understand the legality of your actions, because many times your services and products might be legal in one country, but it might be not legal in another. So you need a strong legal team to advise you on that. And based on that, you can actually see that what are the different payment providers who are willing to take your company on and facilitate your payments. So that's the reason with these different trends, and with the open banking, with the crypto payments, I think that these plastic card and typing, punching in the numbers, it's not going to last long, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we have a couple of more years on that, but no one has time and energy and nerve to type in 16-digit card number and clarify with the OTP. There are easier and better ways, more customer-friendly ways on that. But you as a provider or you as a payer, you always need to see that what are the security functions around these kind of new payment methods, because there could be a possibility that you will never see the money again. We are talking about bank wire, maybe bank wires, you can claim it back, but if you're sending money to someone that you shouldn't with crypto, good luck claiming that back.
Exactly. So as a final question, because it's trending in the crypto world. It's MiCA, so the markets in crypto assets regulation by the European Union. So will this end the crypto Wild West in Europe?
Yes, and in my opinion, there should be an end to it, because everything is great and everything is good that you can just accept money freely and whatever, but unfortunately not everybody has the best intentions. And what we saw as soon as the blockchain touched the financial markets, that's when we saw all the classic scams are coming out. You know, the pump and dump scheme and the Ponzi scheme, and you name it, they have it, right?
Yeah.
So many times I see people who are a big advocate of the free market and everything has to be between, the demand and the supply, and the market will regulate itself. Yes, but you have to ask yourself a question. If your daughter or will buy some kind of drugs in the illegal market, or for example, your son gets some kind of weapons that they shouldn't, and the payment provider indeed facilitated these transactions, then would you not be the first one who is crying for some kind of remedy? Yes. So we live in a society. At the end of the day, to maintain a healthy society, you do need to force people to pay tax, because otherwise no one would pay tax if there was no force on it, right? Everybody would take their company offshore and not pay any tax. There has to be some kind of regulation in a way that certain scammers cannot, or at least they have a very hard time to open a bank account and accept money from their victims and channel it through in a way that no one can see them again. So overall, yes, blockchain is here to reveal everything and reform the whole world, which is a good thing. But in another way, the more and more we see in the details, the more and more we realize that yes, we do need to have regulation, and the regulation is there to take care of the everyday people. I'm not talking about tech-savvy people like us, or even the audience who's listening to this webinar now. But think about your grandma, think about your parents. Those people might not understand the technology, and they are very obvious victims of people who don't have these good intentions, and that's why it has to be regulated. But then again, if there is regulated money movements, are we really redefining fiat? Yeah. Are we really coming up with the same idea as fiat? Because then there has to be a central figure who is regulating everything, who says that the central figure is going to be better than the current government who is printing the money. So, those are the open-end questions. But yeah, what I see, what I can see factually, that sooner or later, in the next, I would say 5 years, at least in the European Union, the handling virtual assets will be under the same regulations and handling the fiat assets. So you will have to have your financial license to hold funds on behalf of third parties, to execute transactions in the same way as now you do with an EMI, e-money institution or payments institution license. You will have the same license with the crypto wallet or the crypto exchange, for example. So sooner or later, we are merging these fiat and crypto assets into under one regulation. Because if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it is a duck, right? Exactly. So if you use it as a money, then it has to be regulated as a classic money.
So thank you so much for joining me. Too bad that Dean and Sima could not make it, but that's something for the next quarterly tech meetup, which is going to be in 2023. And with this, I would like to thank Viktoria, our other speakers, and our audience for tuning in today for this short meetup. Tomorrow we continue with day 2 of the Hipther Festival, which is the European Gaming Q4 meetup. So thank you for joining in, and see you tomorrow. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Bye.